working on that. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and welcome all of you and kick us off. So we're at 12:02. We've got a good sized crowd now. So what I'd like to do is go ahead and get us started for this afternoon. And Molly will work on the chat. Otherwise, do use the Q&A that seems to be functioning. So you can click on that and then also enter a question or engage with us somehow. That would be great. So welcome, everyone. Molly, you want to go ahead and move to the next slide? All right. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here. My name is Leanne DeRouche. I am the Executive Director of No Means No Worldwide, and I just want to thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to interact with you and showcase what is happening at No Means No South Africa. We'll get to that in a little bit. A couple of things that I want to provide just in terms of some housekeeping and then also background on No Means No to get us started. What we're going to be covering today is an overview of No Means No Worldwide, and then also with our director, Nwabisa Nkume, tell you more about what's happening at No Means No South Africa, our innovation hub. And she's got a nice presentation for you. We will take Q&A at the end. We will save time for that. We do like to keep these calls brief, be respectful of everyone's time. We'll try to keep it to 30 minutes. If some of you want to stay on beyond that for another 15, till quarter of the hour because we've got good conversation or you've got additional questions, we will absolutely stay on and provide those of you that want to stick around with some extra time. Please do submit your questions in the chat. And yes, so with that, I'm going to go over to our next slide and talk a little bit about a little bit more about No Means No and give you some background. Let's see here. So it looks like Molly's got some challenges with unlocking the chat without closing the slides. If anyone is a tech whiz and wants to get into the Q&A and has some advice for Molly about how to unlock that, would really appreciate it. Otherwise, please just use the Q&A space. Will be another chance for you to ask questions or perhaps introduce yourself. So thank you everyone for that. Sorry for the technical difficulty. We'll try to get it resolved so we can use it. All right, so I just want to have one slide for you today. I just want to give you a little bit of an overview of No Means No Worldwide, tell you a little bit about who we are and what it is that we do. So we work with youth. Our mission is to prevent sexual violence by unlocking the power of youth to protect themselves. And the way we do that is with a train the trainer model that is in a curricula that is rooted in something known as empowerment self-defense. And so we deliver this curricula to youth between the ages of 10 to 20. Last year alone, we reached over 215,000 youth. That was just in 2021. And despite COVID, which says a lot about the tenacity and determination of our team. And this empowerment self-defense model actually focuses on in three areas: skills, belief, and knowledge. So skills, physical skills, verbal skills to be able to protect yourself from a potential assault, for example. Also belief in the fact that you are worth defending and understanding what your rights are. And then just knowledge about consent, about boundaries, healthy relationships, gender norms and scripts that perhaps impinge on our behavior. And then also bystander training. So how do you recognize a potentially dangerous situation? How do you intervene perhaps on someone else's behalf if you see violence that is about to occur? So a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge that is shared with these youth as a part of our program. The curricula is actually around 10 hours that is delivered to youth. And again, we do this through a train the trainer model. We're now operating in 10 countries, and we have most recently having rolled out in Mexico, and we have over 80 implementing partners of this program. What's unique about No Means No is that our curricula is actually created for boys and for girls. All genders are included. We do work in a lot of contexts where there's still pretty strict gender scripts and roles. And so out of desire to be respectful and effective in a variety of locations and cultures and communities. We offer this as structured as for boys and for girls. And that makes us a little bit unique. Often these prevention programs are focused on girls and not necessarily on boys. The other good news about our program is that it's proven. It's been studied relentlessly by us internally, but also through other research institutions. We have a couple of projects going on now. That's something that Nwabisa will speak to you about. And what we know is that we get results. So I've included a couple of the statistics there that we use often to indicate the effectiveness of the program. So the first one being that 42% of girls in the first year after our training use those skills to stop a sexual assault. And also 79% of boys in the year following this training intervened to stop assaults. So an effective program. We've been recognized by CDC, WHO, and other institutions, USAID, for example, as a proven program. With that, what I would like to do, that's sort of quick, and many of you may have questions, and we will get to those for sure. Please do put them in the chat. Happy to interact with you. With this, what I'd like to do now is devote the rest of our time to our Director of No Means No South Africa and introduce to you Nwabisa Nkume, our rock star director, who is just doing incredible work on behalf of our organization at our Innovation Hub. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Nwabisa, and you can take it away.
Thank you, Leanne. It's evening where I'm at. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending on where you are in the world. As Leanne said, my name is Nwabisa Nkume, and I'm the director at No Means No South Africa. We are the Research and Innovation Hub for No Means No Worldwide. My work experience has been in the city mostly. I've worked for local government for about 15 years, working in international relations, intergovernmental relations, as well as trade and investment. So I am quite au fait with this area and the dynamics within this community, very passionate about the development in our community. So just some facts and figures first before we get into the No Means No SA work. So I hope that we all know that globally 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced physical and/or sexual violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime, or sexual violence by a perpetrator in their lifetime. And according to UNICEF, 1 in 4 adolescent girls between the ages of 15 to 19 experience physical violence, and 120 million girls under the age of 20 have experienced rape or another form of sexual assault. Looking at the South African Police Service stats, between 2021 and 2022, we've had a 15% increase in the total number of criminal offenses in South Africa, and 13.7% increase in sexual offenses reported between January 2021 and January to March 2021 and January to March 2022. South Africa continues to be dubbed as the rape capital of the world. And so No Means No Worldwide could have chosen any other place in the world to have the research and innovation hub, but they chose South Africa because there's such a high prevalence of sexual violence within our country. And I think the program aims to address that. So where are we based in the world? If you can go to the next slide. Molly, we are based in Nelson Mandela Bay, which is on the southeast coast. It used to be called Port Elizabeth. We are now called Gqeberha. We're on the southeast coast of South Africa. We're about 7 hours away from Cape Town and 10 hours away from Johannesburg. And No Means No South Africa was established in we officially started working in 2020, but because of COVID, we had to stop all operations and officially started then in 2021. So our main focus is to provide the No Means No sexual violence prevention program to young people in the Nelson Mandela Bay region. And with that, we are also focusing on the innovation and management of longitudinal research, which will examine the long-term impact and the cost effectiveness of the No Means No program to inform ongoing improvements for the No Means No program. We can go to the next slide. So who do we work with in this in implementation of this program? So we work with boys and girls in the Nelson Mandela Bay region. We work mostly in what we used to call township areas, so less disadvantaged communities, boys between the ages of 10 to 19, and we work within the school system. So we work with grades 5 all the way to grade 12. And we don't only implement the No Means No program, as I said, but we also do research. And I'll speak a little bit about the research as well. So during 2021, we managed to reach 15 schools where we graduated over 4,300 young boys and girls. And in 2022, we're hoping to also graduate over 4,000 girls again, and we will have worked with 15 schools for implementation. I mentioned before that we are focusing on 2 things. One being implementing the program. We implement an 8-hour program, which was what was adapted from the 12-hour program to 8 hours during COVID. But the second part of our work involves the longitudinal research. We are in the middle of a research project where the aim of the research is to test the effectiveness of the intervention in reducing girls' reported experiences of sexual violence. We're also hoping with the research to identify mechanisms of action of the No Means No program on girls' reported experiences of sexual violence. So if it works, how well it works, and how the change happens in the girls that have experienced the No Means No programming. We're hoping that with the research, we'll also be able to determine the effectiveness of the No Means No intervention in reducing girls' reported experience of other forms of violence, so intimate partner violence, for example, or community violence. Compare the effect of simultaneous implementation. So of the schools that we will be working at, there will be schools that will be implementing the girls-only programming, and some schools will be girls and boys programming, and we'll have some schools that are control schools. We're also hoping that we'll be able to examine the change in boys' knowledge and attitudes and behaviors related to violence perpetration as a result of participating in this program. So we have schools that we are going to be working with only on the research, and we're going to be, and the schools that we're only going to be implementing at. So as I said, No Means No South Africa started operating in 2021. And it's been quite an interesting ride, if I can call it like that. When we started, no one knew about No Means No South Africa, but as soon as we started working in schools, people started hearing about us, hearing about the work that we do. We currently have 27 instructors that are from this area, that have grown up in the area, that understand the dynamics of the communities that we work with, and some of them have even been at school at some of the schools that we work with. So they have intimate knowledge of what is happening within those schools and the dynamics within those schools. It's been quite encouraging working within those communities, and myself being a girl from Port Elizabeth, knowing this area well, it's also been heartwarming to hear people start to recognize us, start to recognize people that work at No Means No. We recently had a community advisory board meeting where one of our members is a principal at one of the schools that we work with. And she mentioned that through the No Means No intervention, a parent of a child who had experienced sexual assault and disclosed during one of the No Means No classes had finally been able to get assistance through the No Means No social workers, and also then being referred to the necessary organizations that would be able to help not only the young girl, but the family as well, because they had not known about it. So it's these kinds of stories and these kinds of feedback that encourage us to continue doing the work that we do. were recently at a high school where when we finished the 8-hour program, some of the boys came to our instructors and they were asking, so are you coming back? And when we said, no, we're done with the programming, they were insisting that we come back because they would want their friends who are not necessarily part of that school to start, attending No Means No programming, and to also get the knowledge that they had acquired from the classes at No Means No Worldwide. So you hear these kinds of stories, and there's a number of organizations that are also knocking on the door of No Means No SA to say, we would like to partner with you, because there are no organizations that work with prevention. Most organizations that work in sexual and gender-based violence are looking at aftercare. And so there are no organizations that work like No Means No with a preventative program. So there's starting to build a base of partners, starting to build a reputation around the community that we work with, and starting to get a lot of interest from even people that are not necessarily working within the school system, because we work primarily within the school system, but a lot of organizations that work with young people outside of the school system wanting to partner and work and hear what we do and how we do it, so that we can start working together as organizations. If we can go to the next slide, Molly, thank you. One of the most encouraging things for us as No Means No SA has been, and I think one of our biggest assets, are the young people that conduct the instructors that facilitate the program at the schools. This is one of our male instructors who said, when asked, why do you do the work that you do? And his quote, or what he said, is that it's knowing that it's this idea that I'm part of change, that I'm part of progress, and I'm part of progress at a level that is of significance, that I am part of something that can change a child's life. One of the teachers that we met with recently was telling us how the young girls that have been part of the No Means No program, their confidence, has gone up. She can see how assertive they are and how they are, they find it easy to now stand up for themselves. And those are the little things that perhaps someone may not take, into consideration, but those are the little things that make a difference in that child's life, to know that I am my own person, my voice can be heard, and I have agency, and I have the right to be heard. The boys at Gqeberha High School are continuously asking us to have, after school programs or holiday programs where they can invite their friends to also participate in the No Means No program. So going forward, we look forward to getting the results from the research. We are at 6 months with some of our schools with our research, where we are doing our month 6 surveys. We are at 3 months with some. We are hoping that by the end of October of 2023, we will be done with the research project, where we will be able to then look at the research findings and be able to share some of those research findings, because we are hoping that with this research, we'll be able to improve the way that we work, not only for No Means No South Africa, but for No Means No worldwide. And as we continue to work together, find new ways of delivering the program, better ways of delivering the program, we look forward to engaging with more schools in the Nelson Mandela Bay region. We look forward to working with more partners, because we realize that there's a number of partners that would be beneficial for the work that we do, but also that we would be able to help them with the work that they do, because they don't do what we do. We work in prevention, they work in aftercare. So there is a lot of collaboration that can happen through those partnerships. So again, I just want to say thank you for listening to me, and for the opportunity to speak to all of you today. And I hope we will be able to ask as many questions as you want about No Means No SA. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to just wrap this up for us so we can get to the Q&A. Last slide here is just A couple of ways that you can get involved if you are not involved with us already. First of all, we do have a newsletter. You can find that at our website at nomeansnoworldwide.org. If you are already signed up, please do forward that to a friend. Part of what we're trying to do is continue to raise the visibility and the profile of No Means No and make sure that people are aware of our prevention work. So please help us out with that if you can. Through social media is another way to be able to do that, telling your friends and your family, of course. Being just a champion for consent, not small. That's part of what we advocate for. And so sharing that lesson that we actually teach as well is very helpful. Hosting a fundraiser or making a donation, another way that you can contribute, and then giving us feedback on not only how we can improve these calls, but also what other topics would you like for us to address in future insights calls. So that's a quick overview. And again, we want to leave time for some questions and discussion. So with that, I'm going to just stop and we'll get to your questions. So thank you, everybody.
Hi there, this is Molly, and I just want to thank everyone for your patience while we got the chat going today. I'm the Communications Director for No Means No Worldwide, and I'm just going to go ahead and moderate our Q&A today. We've got a few coming in through the Q&A feature, so I'd like to start with a question about this would be for Nwabisa. So how do you handle the language barrier in South Africa with the different languages and especially Afrikaans?
Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Jonathan. So what we did is at recruitment, we made sure that we hired instructors that could speak the three languages that are spoken in Nelson Mandela Bay. So English, Afrikaans, and isiXhosa. The curriculum is written in English, but what we do is we work, so we have a program manager and myself, we work with the instructors to go through the curriculum, to find appropriate language. So when they teach the classes in the language spoken in the community that they're working in. So if it's within the Xhosa community, then they will teach the curriculum in isiXhosa. And if we are teaching in the Afrikaans community, then the instructors that are Afrikaans speaking will be teaching the curriculum at those schools so that the kids are comfortable to speak in their mother tongue and are able to feel as safe and as free as they can be in their communities. So our instructors come from different parts of the community, and so they speak, some of them speak isiXhosa and English, and some speak all three, some speak English and Afrikaans. So that's how we handle the language barrier. But what we also do is we also hold refresher training for the instructors to make sure that we are helping them to improve the way that they teach the curriculum to younger people versus, to the older students, etc. So that's how we handle language as well as then the age difference, because how you teach it to a 10-year-old is different to how you teach to a 16-year-old, for example.
Great, thank you, Nwabisa. I think that makes a lot of sense. So another question that came in was, how do you recruit your instructors? You mentioned instructors being from the local community. How do you go about recruiting them?
So when we started in 2021, we worked through, because we were in the process of being registered, we worked through an organization called Masinyusane, Education Development Organization, and we actually did a formal advert and sent out an advert and called out for male and female instructors or young people that were interested in working with No Means No Worldwide, and we went on a formal, recruitment drive to employ the young people. But we made sure that all the people that are working with us are from the area. They understand Nelson Mandela Bay, they understand the community dynamics, and would be able to move around the area with ease and be able to identify with the communities that they work with.
Thank you, Nwabisa. So another question that came in is, do you find it easy to get schools to allow you access to the pupils during or just after school?
Thank you, Richard, for the question. So it has not been easy. We'll remember that for about almost 2 years, the kids were not going to school in a normal fashion. It's been harder in 2022 to get access to kids. But once you have, met with the school principal and the school administration, we find that, and we have explained, what we do and how we work, and the kind of service that we offer as an organization, it has, they're quite open and accepting. And so at most schools, we normally, and because it's 8 hours, we normally do the program over 2 weeks. And so because it's not over a long period of time, the schools are quite accommodating. And most schools, we will get 1 hour just after school or the last hour of school. So it depends on each school, their programming. There have been a few schools that would allow us to use their life orientation or life skills period. This takes a bit longer, but we try and work with the schools in a manner that will be acceptable to both. We are quite flexible, so we normally then just work with the school to find the best way to work with them. For most schools, it's 1 hour after school or the last hour of school.
Great, thank you. So actually, this is a question that came in through a message. I think I'll ask you, Leanne, this one. We refer to the South, No Means No South Africa is also referred to a hub of innovation for No Means No worldwide. Does No Means No worldwide plan to open any other hubs?
That's a good question. No, at the moment, this is what we're trying to do is invest in and invest in the hub that we have, and then also deepen the relationships in that community and try to do what we can to further embed ourselves into that community. No Means No grew by leaps and bounds in just a very, very short amount of time in terms of staff and infrastructure and reach as well. And so we're at this point where we're rolling out programs because there is such great interest, and we constantly have this flow of potential partners coming to us asking us, is this something that we could do in our particular community? And so we want to be as responsive as we can. And then at the same time, as I said before, invest in our current location in the hub. And what we're doing now is looking ahead to, besides this research project, other innovations that we might test or pilot, for example, at the hub as a way to just improve the programming and what it is that we're doing. So stay tuned, because we're looking for additional opportunities there. No shortage of need for sure. And we want to make sure that we can have as much impact in that area as we possibly can.
Great, thank you. And then I think we have time for one last question, which came through, which is, I think it's probably best for you, Nwabisa, which is and I think you touched on this a little bit in your presentation, but if you had to pick one or two of the biggest challenges that you've faced and overcome in, the work at No Means No South Africa to date, what might those be?
I think the biggest challenge has been to get into schools and get access to young people, because we're always jostling for time, with the teachers. I think 2022, with schools all having to go back to normal programming, everyone is looking for time with the kids. Other nonprofit organizations are also looking, for access to the kids. So schools find it sometimes difficult to accommodate everyone. But I think our work speaks for itself. The children enjoy the program so much that even when we are done with programming, as mentioned, they're always asking, are you coming back? Is this it? Are we going to see you again? So it is a challenge to get into schools. It is a challenge to access the children. Just, I think, for all NPOs that are working in Nelson Mandela Bay at the moment. But we work with it and we roll with it. We work with a dynamic young group of people. So, we find ways to get to the kids and work with the schools to get access to the learners.
Great. Thank you so much. So with that, I guess, Leanne, I'll just leave it to you to maybe just close us out.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It's such a pleasure to spend time with you today. Thank you for being a part of this third Insights call. We look forward to doing more of them, so please stay tuned. Do reach out. Happy to connect with you, maybe have an in-person visit even. Imagine that. But thank you again for being here today. It was our pleasure to showcase what's happening in South Africa. Really appreciate the work that all of you do. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.